Hi everybody, happy Tuesday. Hope you're having a blessed week so far. Okay. Today we're talking about Joshua. Do you even know who Joshua is? You're like, who? Yeah, I'm kidding. Joshua, I know he's not spoken about too much in many church sermons and stuff like that, but he is one amazing guy. Like, he is the dude, like the man. He is just gangster. I love Joshua. Like, you learn so much from him, and he's just amazing. But really quick, before we continue, I just realized that I never actually spoke on here about my blog that I started. I know, can you imagine I started a blog? Yes, it's on WordPress. It's called A Free Years Blog, which is my name, A Free. It's A Free Years Blog on WordPress, so please do check it out at some point when you have time. It's these videos, but it's also some of my thoughts. I write stuff down also, so yeah, check it out if you want to at some point in life. A Free Years Blog at WordPress. Okay, I think if you Google it or something, I don't know how that works, but I probably will put a link on this at the bottom part of this video, and then you can check it out. Okay, thank you very much. So anyway, we're moving on back to Joshua, who is very similar actually to my favorite person who I speak about all the time. Yes, Jesus. And I found out, right, that actually in Hebrew the names are the same. Like, they say, you know, for instead of Jesus, because Jesus is like the English version, they say Yeshua, which is just like, you know, and it's the same because Joshua is also like an anglicized version of it, so it's Yeshua. And so yeah, so I was like, wow, they have a lot in common. And so take some time out to read the book of Joshua, at least the first, I mean, a chapter at a time, or whatever, however works for you. But definitely you should know who Joshua is. He is really amazing. And one of the things I realized about him, because I read about him, I was reading about him. I love Joshua, you know. I try to learn stuff about him different times. Sometimes I just Google Joshua to see what different things people say about him. But then one thing that I saw myself in the book of Exodus, chapter 33, where it's between Moses and God, and you know, Moses, it says Moses and God spoke to each other face to face like a friend would to another. So in that chapter, it also says when Moses left the tent, because you know Moses would go and meet God in the tent, because technically in the Old Testament God was in the tent. We know that like he wasn't literally just in the tent, he was still God as he is today, everywhere at the same time, all the time. But that's where his like the tangible presence of God was kept, or like that's where the meeting place where he would meet with Moses. So it says that in Exodus 33, it says how when Moses would go meet with God, Joshua would be with him. But then when Moses left to go back and speak with the people and let them know this is what God said, blah, 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 that Joshua would still stay there. It says in the book of Exodus, it says that, you know, he stayed at the tabernacle. So though it wasn't that, you know, he was speaking to God or anything, we don't know, but I mean, it doesn't say that in the Bible. But it does say that he still stayed there because the presence of God was still there. So he was just like soaking up the essence and presence of God. He might not have been getting any conversation from God or any major revelation or whatever, we don't know. But the thing is, all we know is whatever it was, he was like, this is where God lives, so this is where I want to be. And I feel the fact that they put that sentence in the Bible, they didn't have to put it there because it didn't say like God interacted with him. But they put it there, and I think they put it there for a purpose, to let us know the kind of person that Joshua was. And I think he's really an inspirational guy, and you should get to know him. Anyway, if you read in the book of Joshua, you see this guy, as I said earlier, he's just gangster. Like, nobody could stand up to him. I mean, it said it in the first chapter. God told him that none will be able to stand up against you, because I'm with you. I, God, I, Yahweh, I'm with you. Just as I was with Moses, so will I be, you know, with you. So none can stand up against you. And I'm telling you, none did. The one war where there was some problem, where he couldn't win victory, it was only because of some sin, you know, with the people. But once that was sorted out, they whooped back there too. Everywhere he went, he was just whooping butt. Like every king, I don't care what king, what emperor, whoever you were, they stomped on them. They just like massacred everybody because that was the assignment. Okay, he was a general in the army of the Lord, and he just woke. But Joshua is the one who told the sun to stay still, and the sun stood still, so he could finish whooping some butt. And God was like, okay, and God did it for him. Why? Because this is a guy that, you know, he had a good servant's heart, because he served Moses really well. But most importantly, I believe it's because he knew what the presence of God was. He knew how to fellowship intimately with God. Okay, look beyond the power of God into the person of God. Understand, like his essence, his presence, what makes him him. I'm always going on and on about one of my favorite Bible scriptures, verses, which is Philippians 3:10, that says that I may know him and the power of his resurrection and the fellowship of his suffering, blah blah blah. Yes, but and the whole verse, I'm not saying blah blah blah, I'm not trying to disrespect the verse, but I'm just saying that yes, the whole verse, I love all the words in there, but I'm saying especially though that I may know him. So the knowing him means either the suffering or the power of his resurrection, whatever, all that it entails, you have to be willing to know him. And the problem with the Israelites, it was like most of the time, like they saw all these amazing, fabulous things that God did, like parting the Red Sea, come on, manna from the sky, like all these radical things, signs and wonders in front of your very eyes. Can you even imagine the sea parting open right in front of you? How deep and wide and massive the sea is. Can you imagine the noise, the grandeur, like the experience of seeing the sea wide open in front of you, then walking through it, and yet still going back to worship a golden calf? Like, us human beings, Lord, I don't even know how God puts up with us, but anyway, Lord have mercy. So anyway, these guys saw all these signs, but then they still did not know who God was. I feel this is why they kept falling, because we as human, we're going to keep making so many mistakes. And I think one of the few things that will help us is when we actually know who the person is that we're loving, like we're serving, and beyond his works. Because it's exciting to hear of the works, but if it's just the works you're following, you're just going to become, I don't want to use some words on here, but you know what I'm saying. Yeah, you have to know the person. It's like us women, us girls, we want the man to love us for who we are. Like, when I get married, or those of you who are married or whatever, you want your husband to really love you for you. And then you give him whatever he wants, or, all the best of you, because he loves you, not because of what you can give him, but he loves you for you. Therefore, because of that, out of the overflow of that love, you give him whatever he wants. That's how it is for God. Like, when you love him for who he is, beyond what he can give you, but you love him for who he is, then he gives you whatever. I mean, Joshua told the sun to hold still. He was like, yo, son, you better stay up there until I'm done whooping some butt. And the son was like, yes, boss. Why? Because God says whatever he says, do. God made the sun clearly. God told the sun to wait until Joshua was done, because Joshua said so. But why would God even pay attention to this man? Like, because he knew him. He was a guy who spent time with God, who looked beyond just the things God could do to who God was. Back in the beginning of Exodus, when Moses sent the 12 spies, he was one of the 12, and then it was just him and Caleb who said, look, there are mighty giants in the land. It's crazy, it's scary out there, but we know that God, the God who's been with us, who parted the Red Sea for